Hey everyone, this is David. It's just a quick hit on a Sunday, and we actually have a lot to get to today. Listen, this is where I want to start because somebody slipped in. I think this is important to say before I get into this. Listen, I'm already like hot and bothered today, but somebody slipped into my DMs this past week and they're like, or weekend, and they're like, I know you don't like Teddy, but just to be clear about a few things before we get into what I'm going to say, the people that I don't know that I talk about here all the time, I truly, truly, and I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone, I don't like or dislike any of these people. My job here is to talk about this. We're a community. You guys are my people. I love all of you. And so I can see both sides of everything. So, look, when I've met certain people or they've done certain things to me personally, like, when I say Teresa Giudice is a fucking animal across the river, well, I'm in LA, so she's 3,000 miles away. She's a fucking animal across the river. When I say I know just what she was doing with the bloggers last season, and I know it for a fact. I can say that. Short of that, when it's someone like Teddy or some of these people that I've met once in passing, I really truly have no likes or dislikes. Having said that, even if I hated Teddy, I, as a human being, wish good health upon everyone. So it's an incorrect statement to say that I don't like Teddy. And as a human being, of course, I feel for her with what she is going through. So I say all this before I get into what I'm going to say. We got some problems here, guys, and we have a problem with a rat. The rat that scurries. Now, I'm not saying all this because I don't like the rat. Um, I can honestly tell you, I think Tamra Judge is one of the great housewives. She is better at this job than most. She has outlasted most. It is 17 seasons, 17 years. She's one of the greats. Love her or hate her, she does this job. So I can say that. But I got a real problem with what Tamra has been up to the past 2 weeks. I really do, honestly and truly. I, far be it from me to tell someone how to grieve. I have lost people in my life from cancer, people that were very close to me. And so I know how I dealt with that, and we'll get into that. And I just think there's things you should do and things that you shouldn't do. But I mean, look, so we all know Tamara walked out of the cast trip in New Orleans. She was allowed to go home. Andy Cohen got involved. Everybody got involved. And they basically talked her off a ledge. And now she's basically back filming. We're in this in-between state. But so she's walking that back. She quit. And now she's back filming or whatnot. But here's the thing, okay? Here's really the thing. She has then gone on after all of this. She's done her own podcast without Teddy. Teddy's back for a minute. We'll talk about that. But she has now said things like she's depressed, she's hit a wall. It's very hard to film. She has days where she just sits there and stares at the wall and can't even move. By the way, I can relate to all of this. It's hard to film. She's in therapy and is debating whether she should quit. Girl, do not quit therapy. She's questioning whether she should be medicated. Uh, Having nothing to do with Teddy. Yes, rat that scurries. You should be medicated. So I really have nothing against Tamara. I do think she is going through a lot. One of her good friends, I guess it's one of her good friends, is fighting for her life. Anyone that thinks Teddy is in any situation other than life or death is, I think, misjudging this entire situation. But, now Teddy is back on the podcast temporarily, and she's sitting there and she's telling Tamara that she has called Alex Baskin, the executive producer. Teddy is making jokes like, y'all thought I was crazy for the past few months, but turns out I was just on my deathbed. I don't blame her for that. Humor and, deflecting, it's a tactic that I use very well in life rather than deal with the emotions. But she's basically sitting there and saying, Tamra, you can't lose out on $1 million. Go back to work. If I'm going to be bald and fat, you're going to go back to work and have to deal with all those bitches that you can't stand. So I am not taking anything away from Tamra, but right now, like, have you ever woken up? Have you ever woken up and you have so much to do on a day and now you're just sick? Your throat hurts, your head hurts, whatever it is, you're really actually sick. You have the flu, and whatever you were planning on doing that day, you now can't do it because your cold, your flu, your health has now taken over, and you now can't do what it is that you have to do that particular day, right? So imagine if you were Teddy when she describes, I mean, she described that she had these severe headaches, that they were doing the podcast and she couldn't even get out of bed. Um, Imagine that, and that takes over. The stresses of your daily life. Like, that's what I'm trying to say is when you get up and you're sick and you're not feeling well, you really, whatever you had planned for that day, you can't do. And the stresses of life, you can't handle the stresses of life. Well, let me tell you something. Having lost people to cancer, when you have a life and death illness, you can't deal with the stress of life. Personally, I think Teddy right now should not be worried about Edwin. I don't think she should be worried about her children. Obviously, she is. She should not be worried about John Mellencamp. Teddy should be worried about Teddy right now. She certainly should not be worried about the fucking rat that scurries. So I feel that Tamara walking out, I guess, was authentic. But now she's gotten so much backlash and she's trying to walk it back. And now she's throwing in mental health. I mean, this is the same woman that just said that she was autistic a few months ago. I feel somehow she has made Teddy's severe health and cancer diagnosis, which she had melanoma, which they were cutting out, which is spread to her brain and now to two lungs, which I don't know about you. Once cancer spreads to the brain, and it metastasizes to two of the lungs, it's on the move as far as I'm concerned. And God knows where else it is in her body. Okay. So I just personally have an issue. It is nothing against Tamra. I'd be saying the same thing if it were any other housewife. How have you made this about you? And when Teddy is sitting there and they're doing this podcast, I don't know, are they really good friends? I mean, is that really, I don't listen to Two T's. I didn't really realize they were such good friends. Friends, great work colleagues, making a lot of money